The last 36 hours or so have been a real tough time to be an L Word fan, because yesterday episode 4 of season 3 came out, Last to Know, and the reviews are in and they are abysmal. People have taken to social media to really let their feelings be known, and it doesn't look good for the L Word. The show, the network, they're burying their heads in the sand and not saying anything. And they're doubling down on the fact that they are not saying anything about Seppi having left the show and Gigi not being in the rest of season 3. And there's a reason behind this, and there is a reason that the only people talking about the fact that Gigi has left the show are people on YouTube. And we're going to talk about all of this, the reaction to the episode, what is going on with the show, and also obviously Gigi leaving the show. So there's a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. So I filmed this video like 4 or 5 times because it keeps descending into like a rant. But there's going to be some ranting in here, so strap in, baby, because I don't even know where to start. I mean, I guess let's start with the IMDb fiasco, because look at the ratings. Like, I mean, you look at this and like immediately you're gonna get feedback that, oh, people are not happy. And I did some polls of my community, which of course, like, yes, there's always going to be bias in my own community and anybody's own community, because that's just logic. Like, there's going to be bias in those things, but for the most part, people absolutely hated this episode. And for someone who even the show calls a super fan to say they were bored and they didn't want to even continue watching the episode, that's bad. Like, that is just bad. And I'm not excited for episode 5. There was nothing in that trailer that got me excited. And knowing that I have to wait until episode 9 for Bette and Tina to come back, and, you know, Gigi's not coming back, people, myself included, are beyond frustrated. And I'm also frustrated by the fact that there just seems to be this bury their head in the sand, not say anything, delete comments, and just move on with things. Because, I mean, to criticism, the best thing to employ is to not say anything. But when it's a show like this that is so dependent on social media, you live and die by social media with the L Word, and at the moment they are absolutely dying. Because I've talked about this before, like, they have told me, Showtime, the show in general, have talked about the fact that social media plays a huge role in this show, and there would not be a 3rd season of this show without social media. So knowing that, I really do not foresee the show getting another season. And there's some things that you can say, like, it's a TV show and people shouldn't take it so seriously. And I know that, like, I get nitpicky about like the timeline and other things, but it's all it all should be in good fun. I enjoy the show. I enjoy talking about it. That's what a lot of people, I think, the big thing around this show is the discussion, and it is feeling part of our community, that it's our show. And that's why people are so protective of it. But the fact that this is going on and they're just like driving the show into the ground, that is why people are so frustrated. And I think ultimately, you know, a lot of the stories being told this season, it's either characters that we don't care about, or it's very repeated storylines, like Shane cheating and Alice, it looks like she's going to be in some polyamory, dating other people again. There's so many stories to tell, and we're repeating the same ones or bringing in characters that nobody is attached to. Like, I like a lot of the guest stars as much as the next guy, but I'm here for the L Word. I'm here to have the fun group scenes. And even when you look at last episode, like the Halloween episode, a Halloween episode in a gay show, like, that should have been super fun and like group scenes and like great costumes. And half the people in the show like were at home. And no, Alice and Shane didn't even interact. You have 2 OGs left and they didn't even interact in this episode. And we already know that there's going to be 2 episodes where Shane and Alice don't interact because one of them's missing from each. So out of your 6 episodes that Bette and Tina are missing from, 3 of them at least you have Alice and Shane not interacting. Like, that should be like absolute basic level. I mean, I think we're building to a crescendo at the moment because the Bette and Tina news, you know, people were really unhappy and angry about it. But I think on some level, people were like, well, if this is what Jennifer Beals wants to do, like, we're getting our end game. We're happy about it. You know, we can respect that she doesn't want to do the show forever. Cool. Like, people were upset, but they understood and were respectful about it for the most part. But I think the rage and like anger is coming from 2 places. One, because people are saying like, oh, Bette and Tina, like, you know, I respect they want to leave the show. It's the fact that people are now seeing, oh, they're together, remembering how great they are, like that's what we've wanted to see for so long. And then they're thinking back and thinking, well, we've had 3 fucking years wasted of nothing. I mean, that's how I feel. Like, I'm constantly pulling clips from my videos and going back to old episodes, and lately I've been pulling clips from like season 1 and 2 of Gen Q, and especially season 1, and I go back and I'm like, what the fuck was going on? Because season 1, okay, even if season 1 was left alone and like you left those 2 episodes, they were great. Like, Jennifer and Laurel were amazing in them, and you were building in that like angsty stuff, but the stuff of like them being divorced and all of that, and then the season 2 where they didn't even have them like really interacting that much, or there was other characters there, and most of the Bette and Tina stuff was the little cliffhanger at the end of season 2, and it makes me like angry, like thinking we could have had this the whole time. We could have had Bette and okay, I think people would have accepted like Laurel is an artist. She's not, you know, a full-time working actor. We're grateful that she's come back. And I think people would have accepted them only being in like a few episodes or a few scenes, or like just seeing Bette with, you could just have Bette, Alice and Shane pick up those other episodes and it would have made sense. But to be here now and to have them finally together, they're not here. Like, it's so fucking annoying. So that's getting people's backs up. But the other real rage is building from the Dani and Gigi stuff, because people think like that's the future of the show. That could have gone somewhere. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't know whether that's true. Trust me, this is true. Like, I have spent 2 years studying this fandom. I've got numbers that prove it. For Gen Q watchers, people who are actually watching Generation Q, Dani and Gigi are the most popular couple. Like, they are. Bette and Tina are overall, when you take into account all L Word fans and all people who've watched the L Word throughout time. But for Gen Q people, Dani and Gigi are the most popular. Go to their social media, Showtimes. It's all Dani and Gigi nearly. And that's why people are pissed, because they're not even talking about the fact that Gigi has disappeared and she is not in the rest of the season. And I mean, the fact that they're not talking about it, it has to be that they're hiding it on purpose because they want people to tune in every week and see if she's there. And it's equally frustrating because they won't officially say she's not in the rest of the season. And the only people talking about it are YouTubers. And I know I've talked about it for a long time. I said she was going in episode 3 ages ago. But there are other people who know this. There are other people who have seen more episodes, because I didn't want to owe anything. I didn't even want to sign the embargo this season because I didn't want to be tied in any way to not be able to say something or feel in any way indebted. So I said, no, I'm not gonna, because the thing is, like, the whole point is that you're getting like my authentic, real, honest take. And by doing things like getting episodes from Showtime, one, I'm like restrained on when I can post, which I want to post and like go through the whole thing with you guys. Like I don't want to not talk about it. Also, the fact that then you're like, I know it's an episode, but you're indebted and it's like, oh, I have to behave because, you know, next season or another show, I want to be able to get them. So there's people who are indebted in like this really small way of getting episodes, and there are people who are indebted in that way to get interviews, and there are people that get money from Showtime and they're far more indebted, and they're going to toe the line and they're not going to say anything. Like, they're not going to ruffle any feathers. And I know across all those three categories, there's tons of people who know the exact same information that I know, but they won't talk about it because they fall into these categories. And maybe even those people that are paid by Showtime. So of course they're not going to talk about it. And that's why it's only really completely independent people on YouTube, people who are operating out of spare bedrooms, that they can talk about these things because they don't owe anything. They don't have like a stake in this. And especially with it being the last season, certainly the last season that I would ever really cover the show in this way, even if it did come back for season 4, which I do not think looks good, but that's just me being honest. As I said in my video yesterday, this whole thing just makes me incredibly sad, incredibly frustrated, because there was so much potential with this show. It should be a funny show about friendship and be light, and what we most loved about the original. They had their egos that got in the way, as I said before, and I think instead of having that chip about the original, they should have leaned into it. They should have really played to the strength of the OGs and what the fans wanted. I'm not saying they had to do everything that the fans wanted and they should listen to everything they say, because there's some really amazing fan ideas, but there's also some really terrible ones. But you have to kind of take a temperature now and then. You have to see stuff like Bette and Tina is popular, Dani and Gigi is popular, let's do everything we can to make this work. But I don't know whether they think they knew better, or I used to think that it was more ignorance thing, that they weren't, but now I'm like, you have to know. And some of the behavior, like the deleting accounts and comments and things like that, I think now they're finally realizing, because you can close yourself down to an echo chamber. And I think maybe that's what happened in the first season when, you know, things were starting out. And I hate saying that like the messages got through, because it must be tough to see all that criticism about your work. And there'll always be criticism, but there was some really, really easy wins too. And I feel like they fought against us and didn't want to give us those wins. Like, they wanted us to care about other stuff. And when we didn't care about that other stuff, they were like, oh, well, I'm going to take away the thing you like too. So it was, I know that's probably like exaggerated or something, but bottom line is, I love this show. I want to love this show. And they're making it really fucking difficult at the moment to love this show. So I have hopes for episode 6, because, I mean, but the, oh Lord, the same people that have told me, you know, this is the best season ever, told me episode 6 was the best. So it's gonna go either way. It's gonna be brilliant or it's gonna be fucking awful, and there'll be no in between. And we'll see what the rest of the season brings. But you better be sure I will let you know. Don't worry. You don't have to put yourself through the episode. I'll do it for you. And you know, we got 9 and 10 to look forward to, so let's hope that it's a Bette and Tina centric episode. And hey, maybe by episode 9 and 10, they'll finally fucking say about Gigi. But I think they're just trying to put that off as long as possible. So let me know your comments down below. And like I said, it really helps me out if you subscribe and like, and also it will help get more eyes on the video and also my channel getting more subscribers while the episodes are plummeting. That says something. So if you subscribe and comment also, you'll be entered into my draw to win a L Word goodies on Christmas Eve. I'm doing the draw. Follow me on social media to keep up with everything. And as always, make sure to stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.